Tommy Boyce from the Casanovas. Welcome back to Noise11.com. And, as I've mentioned to you, Tommy, I sort of expect every 5 or so years not to have two Casanovas albums so close together. So you've been working hard with the band.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is on, like you said, by our standards, it's pretty quick. Having said that, we actually recorded it 2 years ago. So like we could have, if we were sort of fast tracking things, we actually could have released it 2 years ago, which would have been a lot quicker.
So Reptilian Overlord and this, were they pretty much recorded back to back then?
No, I wouldn't say back to back, but I think Reptilian Overlord we recorded in 2019, I think. And this one's 2021, like around May. And Reptilian Overlord was released in 2020, I think. I think I've got that right.
Yeah.
And recorded this 2021. And yeah, I mean, I would love to have put it out sooner, but just life gets in the way and record companies have got to, rubber had to sort of make sure it's all good on their end,
Yeah, well, I guess not only life got in the way, COVID got in the way, didn't it? So Reptilian Overlord came out, you couldn't tour it. And then by the time you did get to tour it, so by that timeline, by the time you did get to tour Reptilian Overlord, this album would have already been recorded at that point too, which must have been very frustrating.
Yeah, it is a bit, it's frustrating for me as a writer, like, because I feel like when I've written stuff, there's something about actually releasing it to the public which sort of clears the slate and inspires you to start writing again. I don't know what it is. Like, I mean, you could obviously theoretically just keep writing and writing, but once you've put it out into the public, then I don't know what it is. I really get impetus to start writing again, So in a sense, it does sort of stall my creative process a little bit.
Well, with this one, like for people who have seen you over the last 12 months, they've particularly become familiar with, I think, the Devil in Me. There's been a couple of tracks that have already made the set list prior to this album coming out, haven't they? I think you were doing a few tracks when you were in Europe last year.
Yeah, that's right. We did Devil in Me, Burning Up the Night. I think that's it. Just those two we played publicly. We haven't played The Lover or You Want Something From Me. We'll start rehearsing those and get those down for when we launch this record.
So, those two tracks in particular then, you're in Europe, you're on the other side of the world, you're playing a track like, Burning Up the Night or The Devil in Me. These songs must feel like classic hits to you by now.
Yeah, they're sort of second nature now. Yeah, definitely. And which is great because then when you play them, you just play them much better. But we definitely do have to get to work on some of the others because we wouldn't have played some of the others since we recorded them. We wouldn't have really polished them up to a full live performance level because it would have just been a matter of going in, laying down the band track and then overdubbing the vocals. Do you know what I mean? So it's you don't really have to rehearse it up to a full live performance level. And some songs just come easily like that and others more work because there's more going on in the song, and it's choices for me to make as a guitar player. Do I play the rhythm part here, or do I play the lead part while I'm singing, and blah blah blah? Because when we record, I'll layer it up a bit.
And I guess with the new album, we're now 5 albums in. So when you put a set list together, I guess anything new that comes into the set list must mean that one new in, one old out. Does it work like that?
I mean, yeah, because when you go back and it's funny when you go back and look at old set lists, and you think, oh, that's right, we used to play that song, and they kind of get bumped out over the years. But we're starting to get to that stage now where we do have a bit too much to choose from.
And you have a bit of an adjustment to the lineup. Brett Wolfenden has now joined the band.
Yeah.
Has he played on the album, all the tracks on the album?
Yeah, so he's recorded this recent album with us. But it wasn't him on Reptilian Overlord. That was a friend of ours, Ricky Ray, who plays in Baby Animals. And did us a favor because we didn't have Jaws. Jaws was living in Bali. So Ricky stepped in and did that. And Brett joined just prior to the release of that album. So Brett's been with us for a fair while now, like 4 years or so.
But I guess, the nucleus of this band has always been you and Damien Campbell.
That's true. Yeah. Well, since about the year 2001. Yeah. Yeah. So for the first couple of years, it was me and Jim and Paddy. So Jim Lewis from Fortress of Narzod and Redshift, and my brother Paddy on drums.
Well, that was a long time ago. In fact, we're coming up to the 20th anniversary of that debut album next year. Are there any plans to celebrate?
We recorded another version of Shake It in the studio when we did this record. So maybe we can put that out as a celebration, a kind of like a little celebratory thing of the 20th anniversary.
Do like the Taylor Swift's or the Taylor's version. You can do Tommy's version.
Yeah.
Do a new version of the old albums.
Well, the whole album, I don't know, that would be so much work, but I don't think I could be bothered going back there, to be honest. But yeah, it's funny, like I'll go back and look at some of those songs, and it's really interesting to hear them 20 years later, because a lot of them, I haven't heard for years because we don't play them in the set, and I generally don't listen to our own music unless you've just recorded it, Not a matter. I don't sit down and put on our first record and listen to it anymore.
When that first record came out and you were playing live, did you play everything off that first album live back in the day?
Most of it, I think. Yeah, we wouldn't have had a lot more to choose from back then. So yeah.
Which makes it interesting when you get to album 5, isn't it? Because it probably means that there's going to be songs on this album that will never be played live.
That's true. Yeah, there will, definitely. And sometimes it's because like the song there's some songs we'll record knowing that we'll probably never play it live because it's too involved. And if we were a 5-piece band, maybe, but as a 3-piece, it's just it's really hard to do some of that stuff justice,
So what's an example of one of the songs on Backstreet Rhythms that will never see the light of day then?
There's one called Kundalini Rising. It's just got so much going on. In fact, it's got a breakdown in the middle where there's like ohms and flute. I'm playing flute in the middle bit. So there's no way we're going to do that live. Yeah.
Yeah. You went in the studio, you were working with a guy called Ron Neverson, who has a remarkable history, The Who, Led Zeppelin. Was he actually with you working in the studio?
No. So we decided this time around to produce it ourselves and then get it mixed by someone really good. And so we chose Ron to do that. So it was just a matter of tracking all the songs in the studio at Head Gap in Preston with Finn Keane as our engineer, who was great. And then getting those files and just sending those files to the States for Ron to mix.
Right. So you've never actually met the guy face to face?
Never met him face to face.
Wow.
Yeah. Email contact only.
I'd imagine you want to get together with somebody like that and have a few beers and talk about physical graffiti and talk about Quadrophenia by The Who, talk about that first Bad Company album.
Absolutely, Paul. I would have loved to have done that. We were going to have a Zoom chat at some stage, but that just didn't eventuate, and that was a bit disappointing because, like you said, I would love to have chewed the fat with him about some of that stuff, like doing Quadrophenia or Crazy Nights, or These Dreams by Heart or something.
Well, he seemed quite active, back in the 70s, 80s, 90s. He really hasn't done a lot in the 21st century. Did he come out of retirement to work with you guys again?
Well, I've gotten the impression that he's been continually working, but just under the radar, like I just don't think he's as celebrated as some of his contemporaries, like say Robert Mutt Lang or one of those kind of guys who's, obviously sort of went on to bigger status. So, and he's in his 70s now. So I guess, he's not quite as in demand as he was way back when.
But, also being in his 70s, he's probably a lot choosier now. So it's quite the honour that he said yes to you.
For sure. Yeah, it was good. We just sent him a demo and he liked the sound of it, and so agreed to mix it.
So, all right. So we've got the the new album. And I would imagine, based on what you were saying, there's probably another album in your head already. If
no, not yet. I do have a handful of demos, but not a full album yet. Yeah.
So right now it's all about constructing what this set list is going to look like in the next few months, is it?
That will be at the forefront. Yeah.
From a live perspective, I mean, 2022 was huge, wasn't it? That massive European tour and all those festivals you got to play on. You're going to be, are there plans for that in the future again for, say, next year?
Yeah, I think there's a sort of tentative plan to go back in 2024. Just have to see how that pans out.
Well, it's good to catch up. Good to see another album out there from the Casanovas. So album number 5. Jeez.
Well,
album number 5 as we get ready for a 20th anniversary and a whole lot of shows. So it's going to be a busy 12 months, Tommy.
Yep, indeed.
All right. Good to see you.
Thanks a lot, Paul. Appreciate it.
Please hang up and try again.